My name is Danielle Mercer, though everyone who actually knows me calls me Danny. I'm 29 years old, a software engineer, and until one humiliating night in a private restaurant packed with 35 people, I genuinely believed I was building a future with the man I loved. 5 years? That's how long it took me to understand that Sebastian Cole and I had been living in two completely different relationships. I thought he was my future husband. Apparently, he thought I was his sister. A sister who paid his bills. We met in college through mutual friends. Sebastian was a marketing major with dark hair, an effortless smile, and the dangerous ability to make whoever he was talking to feel like the only person in the room. I fell hard. Jess saw through him immediately. That man is faker than a knockoff designer bag, she told me after meeting him for the first time. I laughed. You talked to him for 20 minutes. I didn't need 21. Jess. Danny, I'm serious. He barely looked at you until he wanted another drink. Then suddenly, you're the center of his universe. You're being protective. Jess gave me that look. The one I would eventually learn meant, I'm going to remember this conversation when everything explodes. He's collecting backup women like trading cards, she said. Just don't let yourself become the one who pays for the binder. I should have listened. There were signs everywhere. Sebastian never introduced me as his girlfriend. Ever. This is Danielle. Or, Danny and I are really close. If somebody directly asked whether we were dating, he'd smile mysteriously and say, we have something special. We don't really need labels. At 24, that sounded romantic. At 29, it sounded like a legal disclaimer. And yet Sebastian knew exactly how to keep me invested. Whenever he needed something, suddenly, our future became very specific. When we get our first house, he'd say, scrolling through listings, I want one of those huge kitchens. I'll cook for you every night. The man could barely make toast. Another time while we were watching my cousin's children play, he leaned against me and murmured, when we have kids, I hope they get your eyes. My heart nearly melted. And marriage. That subject appeared whenever my patience started wearing thin. If we ever get married, he'd say, I don't want some massive wedding. Something small. Maybe somewhere tropical. He had me mentally choosing wedding flowers while refusing to call me his girlfriend. I thought I was being patient. Mature. Strategic. What I was actually doing was auditioning endlessly for a role Sebastian had no intention of giving me. And I was an excellent provider. His car broke down. I arranged the rental and helped cover $800 in repairs. Short on rent, $1,200 transferred before he even finished explaining. Moving apartments. I showed up with a rental truck, 3 friends, and lunch for everyone. I became the person Sebastian called when anything went wrong. Money, technology, transportation, work problems, family problems, dating. Yeah, dating problems. That should have told me everything. During one particularly slow afternoon at work, I opened my banking history and started calculating. 5 years of transfers, repairs, meals, emergency expenses, and temporary loans. Artisan Mayuan Sube. I stared at that number until my monitor went blurry. $23,400. And somehow, I still told myself it was fine because someday we would be married and none of it would matter. The physical side of our relationship should have been an even bigger warning. 5 years together, or whatever we were, and Sebastian always had a reason to keep some distance. I don't want physical stuff complicating what we have. I want it to mean something. Why rush something special? Meanwhile, he'd openly flirt with women when we went out, sometimes right beside me. I'd convince myself Sebastian was simply charismatic. Later I discovered several of those women weren't harmless flirting. There had been Rachel from his gym, Monica from a bar near his office, Claire from some dating app, a woman from his yoga studio whose name I never learned. They got romance. They got dates. Some of them got considerably more. I got forehead kisses and emergency Venmo requests. But I didn't know the full extent of that yet. All I knew was that Sebastian's 28th birthday was going to be my line in the sand. After 5 years of ambiguity, I needed an answer. Either we were building the future he'd spent years describing, or I was done. I planned the party for 3 months. Private room at his favorite restaurant. Professional photographer. 35 friends and relatives. His parents. My friends. People from college. And the ring. Lumayuan Babe. White gold. A1. Cinque. Carat diamond. I knew exactly what Sebastian liked, because for 3 years, he'd occasionally send me pictures of rings, usually followed by some teasing comment. Not saying anything, Danny. Just educating you. I mistook hints for promises. Jess came to my apartment the afternoon before the party and found the ring box sitting on my kitchen counter. Her expression fell. You bought it. I bought it. Danny, don't. If that man wanted to marry you, I think you'd know by now. He talks about our future constantly. He talks about your future whenever he needs you invested in his present. That one hurt. I closed the ring box. This is how I find out. Jess studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. You think I'm making a mistake. I think you're finally going to get an answer. She was right. The party was perfect. Sebastian looked incredible in the navy shirt I'd bought him. His mother hugged me when I arrived and whispered, "Is tonight the night?" My stomach fluttered. Maybe. Her eyes filled with excitement. She had treated me like a future daughter-in-law for years. That mattered later. After dinner, I stood for the toast. The room slowly quieted. Sebastian looked at me, smiling. I want to say something about Sebastian. Someone near the back whispered, "Oh my God." People already knew. Or thought they knew. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. These past 5 years have been some of the most important years of my life. Sebastian, you've been my best friend, my partner, and the person I've imagined beside me whenever I picture the future. His smile widened. That smile gave me the courage to continue. You've made me believe in a life bigger than the one I planned for myself, and I don't want to imagine that future without you. Then I got down on one knee. The room erupted in gasps. Someone clapped. His mother covered her mouth. I opened the box. Sebastian James Cole. He stared at the diamond. Will you marry me? Silence. 1 second. 2. 3. Then Sebastian laughed. Not a nervous chuckle. Not shocked laughter. He actually laughed. Oh my God, Danny. I stayed on one knee. His laughter got louder. This is so sweet, but he looked around the room as though I had somehow misunderstood an obvious joke. You know we're just best friends, right? Nobody moved. Sebastian kept smiling. This is so awkward. I could hear someone inhale sharply behind me. His father's expression changed first. Confusion. Then anger. His mother looked horrified. Jess looked like she wanted to cross the room and strangle him with a tablecloth. But Sebastian kept talking. Danny, you're basically like a sister to me. A sister. 5 years of conversations about houses, children, marriage, $23,000. And I was his sister. We've never even really... Sebastian continued, gesturing awkwardly. You know, that somehow made it worse. Danny has always been incredibly helpful, he told everyone, as if explaining our relationship to strangers. She's seriously one of my closest friends. Something inside me went completely still. I stood, closed the ring box, put it into my pocket. Well, I said. My voice sounded strangely calm. Thanks for the clarity. Sebastian blinked. Don't be upset. I'm not. And strangely, at that exact moment, I wasn't. I think humiliation can become so intense that your mind temporarily refuses to process it. Then Sebastian patted me arm. Actually patted it. You'll find someone who wants that kind of relationship. I stared at him. We can even double date sometime. Double date. With my almost fiancé who had apparently never been my boyfriend. I stayed at the party for another hour. Not because Sebastian deserved it. Because I refused to give him the satisfaction of watching me run away crying. When I finally left, he hugged me near the entrance. Thank you for tonight, he said. Seriously, you always take such good care of me. I looked over his shoulder at the restaurant I'd paid for. Yeah, you're the best friend ever. Something clicked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just one small internal switch turning off. Customer service was closed. Permanently. I drove home without music. 5 years? Arshisen Mayuan. Sipe. Hundreds of hours. Every conversation about marriage replayed in my head. Every time he talked about children. Every time he'd said our house, every emergency I'd solved, every woman he'd flirted with while I sat beside him. I didn't sleep that night. But I didn't cry as much as I expected either. Mostly I thought. The next morning, Sebastian texted me at 9:17. Last night was perfect. Sorry if the proposal thing got weird, but I'm glad we finally cleared the air. You're seriously the best friend a guy could ask for. I read it twice. Then, another message appeared. By the way, can you help me move my dresser this weekend? Thing weighs a ton, lol. I stared at my phone. And suddenly, I understood. Sebastian wasn't worried that he'd broken my heart. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He wasn't even embarrassed. He expected everything to continue exactly as before. I would still answer. Still pay. Still drive. Still fix. Still listen. Still rescue him whenever the women he actually wanted disappointed him. He believed rejecting me had changed nothing, because in Sebastian's mind, my feelings had never been part of the arrangement. Only my usefulness was. I called Jess. She answered on the second ring. How bad? He asked me to move his dresser. Silence. What? This weekend? After last night? Yep. Jess exhaled slowly. Danny, please tell me you're finally angry. I looked at Sebastian's message again. For 5 years, I'd mistaken being needed for being loved. That morning, for the first time, I could see the difference. Yeah, I said quietly. I think I finally am. And Sebastian had absolutely no idea what his life was about to look like without me holding it together. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I made an inventory. Not just of the money. Everything. I pulled 5 years of bank statements, Venmo transfers, emailed receipts, restaurant charges, repair bills, rental trucks, plane tickets, and random purchases. Sebastian had promised to reimburse me for next month. The financial total was still sitting there like an accusation. But money was only part of it. So I opened a spreadsheet. Hours spent helping Sebastian move 89. Airport pickups and drop-offs. 31 trips. Emergency runs to his apartment because something had broken, leaked, stopped working, or somehow become my responsibility. 67. Hours listening to him complain about coworkers, family members, landlords, friends, and women he was seeing. I stopped counting after 300. Then I made another list. Rachel, Monica, Claire, the yoga instructor, some finance woman whose name I'd never learned. There had been others too. Sebastian cycled through women who gave him excitement, attraction, and romance. Then, when those relationships collapsed, he came back to me. I wasn't his girlfriend. I was the emotional cleanup crew, the emergency fund, the chauffeur, the therapist, the person who made sure his real life remained comfortable while he chased women he actually wanted. And suddenly I remembered conversations that made me physically cringe. Once Sebastian complained about Rachel wanting commitment. She gets clingy, he'd said while eating takeout I'd bought. Maybe she likes you. That's not my responsibility. Another time, Monica asked him where their relationship was going. Sebastian laughed while telling me about it. Why does everyone need labels? I had laughed with him. God. I'd actually laughed. Meanwhile, I was paying part of his rent. Sebastian hadn't hidden who he was. I'd simply translated everything he did into the version I wanted to believe. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to destroy his life. I just needed to stop maintaining it. So I started small. Sebastian was accustomed to immediate responses from me. Text at 03. Reply by 1004. Call during work. I'd step out of meetings. Problem at midnight. I'd answer. That stopped. The first day I waited 6 hours. The second 12. By the end of the first week, sometimes I didn't respond at all. His confusion was immediate. On day 3, my phone rang. Hey, I answered. Finally. I leaned back in my desk chair. What's up? Why haven't you been answering me? I've been busy. Busy with what? I almost laughed. Life. There was a pause. You always text me back. Things change. Is this because of the proposal? No. It wasn't exactly a lie. The proposal wasn't the problem. The proposal had simply turned the lights on. 5 days later, his air conditioner broke during a heat wave. Normally, I would have been at his apartment within an hour, carrying tools and probably a portable unit I'd bought myself. Instead, I received 3 missed calls. Then, "Danny, it's like 95 degrees in here. My landlord isn't answering. Can you come look at it?" I typed, "Call an HVAC company." His reply arrived instantly. "They'll charge like $300 just to come out. That's generally how businesses work." Seriously. "Yes. Don't be mean. I need help." "I'm not being mean. I'm telling you who can fix your AC." He eventually paid $420 for same-day service. I know, because he sent me the receipt with 3 crying emojis. Old Danny would have transferred him half. New Danny responded, "Adulting is expensive." Day 8 brought car trouble. Dead battery in a Target parking lot. I didn't even see his calls until nearly 3 hours later. "I can't believe you didn't answer when I actually needed you," he texted. "I was in meetings." "Since when don't you step out of meetings?" I stared at that sentence. Not "could you help?" Not "are you okay?" Since when don't you abandon your responsibilities for mine? I wrote, "Since a dead battery isn't an emergency." I had to wait almost 3 hours for roadside assistance. "You have AAA. I let my membership expire because you always help me with car stuff." I didn't answer. That message deserved to sit there by itself. Day 12. Leaking kitchen sink. Emergency plumber. Sunday surcharge. 650美元. "This is ridiculous," Sebastian texted alongside photos. "I can't afford all these random expenses. Start an emergency fund." With what money? Your income. You know how expensive everything is. Other people manage. By week 2, annoyance had turned into panic. "What is going on with you? You're being weird. Did I do something wrong? Finally, this doesn't feel like us." I replied, "I'm treating you like the friend you said I was." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "But we've always been close. How is this different?" He didn't answer, because answering required admitting what close had actually meant. Close meant I paid. Close meant I fixed. Close meant, I answered. Close meant Sebastian had access to girlfriend-level devotion while offering friendship-level responsibility. The real breaking point came with his monthly work crisis. My phone rang around 9:30 one evening. "Sebastian." I let it go to voicemail. He immediately called again. Declined. Third call. I finally answered. "What's wrong? Why weren't you answering?" "I'm watching a movie." "Can you pause it?" I looked at the television. "No." Silence. "What?" "You called 3 times. Is someone hurt?" "No, but my boss is being a complete jerk and I'm freaking out." "So call someone from work who understands the situation." "I need you." There it was again. Need. Not miss. Not love. Need. "Call Ashley. Ashley doesn't understand me like you do." "Then maybe you should expand your support system." "Danny, I've gotta go." "Wait." I hung up. He called 6 more times. I ignored everyone. At 7 the next morning, someone pounded on my apartment door. I opened it and found Sebastian holding 2 Starbucks cups. His eyes were red. He pushed past me before I invited him inside. "We need to talk." "Good morning to you too." I couldn't sleep. He put the coffees down. "You're acting like a completely different person and it's freaking me out." I folded my arms. "Why?" "Because this isn't you." "What isn't?" "This." He gestured toward me. The ignoring. The coldness. Making me call repair people. Not being there when I need you. I almost smiled. "Do you hear yourself?" He stared at me. "Look, I understand the proposal was awkward." "Awkward. I didn't mean to embarrass you." You laughed. I was shocked. "You called me your sister." I was trying to explain. In front of 35 people, Sebastian rubbed both hands over his face. "Can we please not let one misunderstanding destroy 5 years of friendship?" That word again. Friendship. I studied him. Then, something Jess had said years earlier came back to me. Don't listen to what people call relationships. Look at what they contribute to them. So I asked Sebastian one question. "Name one thing you've done for me." His eyebrows pulled together. What? In 5 years. Name one sacrifice you made for me. Danny, come on. One. I've done plenty. Name one. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I listened to you. When? His face tightened. All the time. When was the last time I called you because I was having a crisis? You don't have crease. I laughed. For the first time in that conversation, I genuinely laughed. My life looked easy because I didn't have time to fall apart. I was too busy keeping yours together. His eyes filled with tears. You're being cruel. No, I'm finally keeping score. This isn't like you. I looked directly at him. This is exactly like me, Sebastian. You just never paid enough attention to know me. He left, without touching the coffee he'd brought. For several minutes after the door closed, I stood there shaking. Not because I regretted it, because setting boundaries felt unnatural after 5 years without them. But then something surprising happened. My life got quieter. I went to the gym after work instead of driving across town because Sebastian needed something. I had dinner with Jess. I went hiking with coworkers. I started reading again. For years I thought I didn't have hobbies anymore because adulthood was exhausting. Turns out Sebastian was exhausting. By week 3, he asked for the belongings he'd left at my apartment over the years. Clothes, books, a laptop charger, toiletries, a watch. Random things he'd gradually scattered through my home like he expected permanent access to it. Can you bring my stuff over? He asked. Nah. You know where I live. And you know where I live. Seriously. Saturday. 1 to 3. Dani. Saturday. He arrived at 1:05. I handed him 2 boxes. Everything was neatly packed. He stared at them. You actually boxed everything. You asked for your things. This feels so final. It is. That landed harder than I expected. For a second, Sebastian looked genuinely frightened. Not angry. Frightened. Are you trying to erase me? No. I leaned against the doorway. I'm making room. He carried the boxes away without another word. And then came social media. I hadn't planned anything elaborate. I simply started posting my life again. Hiking. Dinner with friends. Coffee with coworkers. A Saturday morning at the gym. A concert Jess dragged me to. I wasn't pretending to be happy. That was the strange part. I actually was happier, Sebastian noticed. Within days, his Instagram stories changed. Sometimes people show their true colors. Then, missing someone who doesn't miss you back. Then, loyalty means staying even when things get uncomfortable. Jess sent me screenshots. He's fishing. I know. Don't bite. I didn't. Until Sebastian posted a long Facebook rant. He wrote about fake friends abandoning people when they were needed most. About people using money as leverage. About women who believed kindness entitled them to romance. That last part did it. Not because it was insulting. Because it was rewriting what happened. He had laughed at my proposal publicly. Now he was positioning himself as the victim privately. So I responded. Not emotionally. Not with insults. With numbers. Interesting perspective from someone who accepted approximately $23 inches financial support over 5 years, while repeatedly discussing marriage and a future together, dated other people during that same period, then laughed at my proposal in front of both families. I don't believe kindness entitles anyone to romance. I do believe honesty entitles people to make informed choices about where they invest their time, money, and emotions. I attached part of my spreadsheet. No private banking information. No addresses. Just categories. Rent assistance. Car repairs. Moving costs. Emergency expenses. Travel. Miscellaneous support. Then I added, I'm not angry that someone didn't want to marry me. I'm grateful I finally received a clear answer. The post exploded. People who had been at the birthday party commented first, then college friends, then people I'd barely spoken to in years. Sebastian's former roommate wrote, Wait, he told us you two had some complicated relationship. One of his female friends commented, He told me Dani was basically his girlfriend whenever he needed to explain why she was always around. That one hurt. because apparently even Sebastian couldn't keep his own story straight. Then another woman commented, "Rachel, the gym girl. I honestly thought Danny knew Sebastian and I were dating. He told me they weren't romantic." My stomach turned. More pieces fell into place. Monica messaged me privately. So did Claire. Different timelines. Same explanation. Sebastian told each woman I was just a close friend, and told me they were nothing serious. The story he'd built for 5 years began collapsing in a single afternoon. Sebastian deleted his original post. Too late. Screenshots existed. People were asking questions. Then my phone rang. I answered. He was crying. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "Nothing." "Take it down." "Why?" "You're ruining my reputation." I posted what happened. "I never asked you to spend that money." "No, you just accepted it. You offered, because you kept talking about our future. I was being affectionate. You discussed marriage. People talk about things. You talked about our children, Sebastian." Silence. Then his voice hardened. "You're doing this because I rejected you." "No." I surprised myself with how calm I sounded. "I'm doing this because you publicly accused me of trying to buy a relationship after spending 5 years encouraging me to believe we already had one. You're twisting everything." "Then, explain your version." "I shouldn't have to explain my private life to everyone. You didn't mind explaining mine." He hung up. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. 3 days later, Sebastian's father called me. I'd always liked Mr. Cole. His voice sounded exhausted. "Danny." "Hi, Mr. Cole. I hope I'm not bothering you." "No." There was a long pause. "Is the amount you posted accurate?" I closed my eyes. "Approximately $23,000. "Yes." "Over 5 years." "Yes." Another pause. "I had no idea." "You couldn't have." "We thought." His voice cracked slightly. "We thought you two were together." "So did I." He exhaled. "His mother is devastated. Please don't blame yourselves. We raised him better than this." I didn't know what to say. Then he told me something I hadn't expected. Sebastian's parents had been helping him financially too. His mother covered his car insurance. His father paid his phone bill. They regularly sent grocery money whenever Sebastian complained that his paycheck hadn't stretched far enough. And after discovering how much he'd been taking from me, they were stopping. "He needs to learn," Mr. Cole said quietly. "If he's old enough to use someone else's feelings to finance his lifestyle, he's old enough to support himself. You don't have to do that because of me. We aren't doing it because of you." His voice became firmer. "We're doing it because of him." When the call ended, I sat quietly for several minutes. I hadn't destroyed Sebastian's safety net. I'd simply removed myself from it. His parents had made their own decision. His friends were making theirs. For the first time in his adult life, Sebastian was meeting consequences that nobody else could pay to make disappear. That night, Jess came over with Thai food. She raised her drink to closed customer service departments. I laughed and tapped my glass against hers. To clarity. But neither of us knew yet that Sebastian wasn't finished. Because losing my money was one thing. Losing my attention was worse. And losing control of the story. That was something Sebastian Cole could not tolerate. 3 months after Sebastian laughed at my proposal, I barely recognized my own life. And I mean that in the best possible way. Work was thriving. Without Sebastian calling during meetings or manufacturing emergencies every other afternoon, I started volunteering for bigger projects. My manager noticed. I was given responsibility for a new software rollout I'd been too distracted to pursue before. I started going to the gym 4 times a week. I went hiking again. I cooked instead of ordering takeout because Sebastian had called with another crisis. I even discovered something embarrassing. I had free weekends. Actual weekends. For 5 years, I'd thought adulthood simply meant constantly being tired. Apparently it meant that when one person treats you like a 24-hour emergency service. Then he met Alexander Bennett. Alex. He worked in product strategy at a tech startup and made good money, but what impressed me wasn't his salary. It was the fact that he handled his own life. The first time his car made a strange noise, I automatically said I know a good mechanic. Already booked one. I actually stared at him. What? Nothing. Another time, our dinner bill arrived. Alex reached for it. I've got this. You paid last time. Exactly. I laughed. He looked confused. What's funny? Nothing. You're just weirdly functional. That's either the nicest or most insulting thing anyone has ever said to me. Alex didn't need rescuing. More importantly, he didn't confuse love with rescue. If he had a bad day, he talked about it, then asked about mine. If he needed something, he asked, instead of implying that my affection should make refusal impossible. He remembered details. My coffee order. My project deadline. The name of Jess's dog. Once after I casually mentioned that I had an early meeting, he showed up outside my apartment with breakfast. No crises. No hidden request afterward. Just breakfast. I nearly cried over a breakfast sandwich. That's how low Sebastian had set the bar. Alex and I had been dating about 8 weeks when the past walked into a restaurant wearing wrinkled clothes and an expression like he hadn't slept properly in months. And of course it happened at Morello's, the same restaurant where Sebastian had humiliated me. Alex knew the story. When he suggested dinner there, he asked first, "You sure?" I looked through the windows at the familiar dining room. Yeah. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not. And I meant it. I wanted that restaurant back. I didn't want one terrible memory, owning a perfectly good place forever. We were halfway through dinner, discussing a weekend trip to Alex's friend's cabin near Lake Tahoe, when I noticed someone near the entrance. Sebastian. For a second I didn't recognize him. He looked thinner. His hair was messy. There were dark circles under his eyes. His shirt looked like he'd grabbed it from the floor. He was with a woman I'd never seen before. Pretty. Blonde. Maybe early 30s. She was talking animatedly while Sebastian scanned the room. Then his eyes found me. Everything about him froze. Alex followed my gaze. Is that him? Yeah. The famous Sebastian. Unfortunately, Alex looked at me. Want to leave? That question alone told me everything about the difference between him and Sebastian. He wasn't asking because he was threatened. He was asking what would make me comfortable. No, I said. This is our dinner. So we stayed. Sebastian kept looking over. His date noticed. She glanced toward our table twice, clearly trying to figure out why the man sitting across from her couldn't stop staring at another woman. I ignored him. 30 minutes later, Alex excused himself to use the restroom. I should have known what would happen. Sebastian appeared beside my table almost immediately. Dani. I looked up. Sebastian. Fancy seeing you here. You too. He shifted awkwardly. Up close, he looked worse. How have you been? Good. Good. Very. His eyes moved toward Alex's empty chair. Who's your friend? Alex. Coworker. No. Something in his expression tightened. My boyfriend. The word hit him like I'd slapped him. Boyfriend. Yes. Already. I almost smiled. What does that mean? It's only been... He started calculating. Like 3 months. Almost 4, since the birthday. But you've been dating him for 2? Approximately. His face changed. Confusion first. Then anger. How could you move on that fast? I stared at him. Move on from what? His mouth opened. Nothing. That was the problem. For 5 years, Sebastian had insisted we weren't together. Now he wanted breakup privileges. You were in love with me, he finally said. I was. Past tense. His jaw tightened. You don't just stop loving someone after 5 years. No. I leaned back. You stop when they make it painfully clear that the relationship only existed in your imagination. That's not fair. It was actually very helpful. What? The birthday. His eyes flickered. You gave me an answer I'd spent 5 years avoiding. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. But it did. I was shocked. You laughed. I panicked. You called me your sister. He looked away. I've apologized. No, Sebastian. You've complained about the consequences. That's different. Before he could answer, Alex returned. His eyes moved from Sebastian to me. Everything okay? I nodded. Alex, this is Sebastian. Alex extended his hand. Nice to meet you. Sebastian stared at it for a second, before shaking. Then the performance started. That familiar Sebastian smile appeared. Smooth. Polished. Artificial. So you're the rebound. Alex raised an eyebrow. Excuse me. Sebastian gave a little laugh. I'm kidding. No, you're not, I said. His smile disappeared. He looked directly at Alex. Danny and I have a complicated history. Alex pulled out his chair. I know. Sebastian blinked. She told you about me. Of course. All of it. All the relevant parts. Something about Alex's calmness irritated him. Sebastian had expected jealousy, competition, maybe insecurity. Instead, Alex sat down and took a sip of water. So Sebastian continued. You understand, Danny was in love with me for 5 years. Alex nodded. I understand you told her you wanted a house, marriage, and children, while telling other women she was just a friend. Sebastian's face reddened. That's not exactly what happened. Then what happened? Sebastian looked at me. We had something special. Special enough for you to laugh when I proposed. I made a mistake. One? His date had noticed he was gone by now. She approached slowly. Sebastian. He turned. I'll be there in a second. She looked between us. Everything okay? Fine. It wasn't fine. Sebastian looked back at me. You can't throw away 5 years because of one bad night. That sentence made something inside me go cold. One bad night. I handled it badly. Sebastian, the birthday didn't destroy our relationship. I paused. It revealed it. His face crumpled slightly. You're acting like none of it was real. For me, it was. And for me, no. His date shifted uncomfortably. Alex remained silent. I continued. If it was real for you, why did every woman you dated think I was just your friend? Sebastian went still. Rachel contacted me. His face drained. So did Monica, Dani, and Claire. His date looked at him. Who are Rachel and Monica? Sebastian ignored her. You talked to them. They talked to me. You had no right. I laughed softly. There it is. What? The part where everyone else's choices become your fault. His voice rose. I never forced you to give me money. No. I never promised we'd get married. You sent me engagement rings. As jokes. You talked about our children. People fantasize. You let your mother believe I was going to become her daughter-in-law. The restaurant around us was becoming quieter. Sebastian noticed. His humiliation was now beginning to mirror mine. But unlike him, I didn't need an audience. Sebastian, I said quietly, go back to your date. He stared at me. Is that what you want? Yes. The answer seemed to break something. You can't actually want him. Alex looked almost amused. Careful. Sebastian ignored him. You barely know him. I know enough. He's a rebound. No. You're trying to make me jealous. No. Then why him? That question stunned me. Not because it was difficult, because Sebastian genuinely couldn't understand why someone else could offer something he hadn't. Because he chooses me. Silence. Alex looked at me. Sebastian looked devastated. He doesn't make me guess, I continued. He doesn't talk about a future when he wants something and pretend we're strangers when accountability shows up. He doesn't need me to solve his life before he decides I'm worth loving. Sebastian's eyes filled. I need you. There it was. The restaurant seemed to disappear. 5 years suddenly condensed into 3 words. I need you. Not, I love you. Not, I choose you. Need. Sebastian stepped closer. Danny, seriously. Everything's falling apart. His date stared at him. What are you talking about? He ignored her. My parents cut me off. My bills are insane. Work is a nightmare. My apartment, I almost laughed from disbelief. Even now, standing in front of the woman he'd supposedly lost, he was listing services he wanted restored. Do you hear yourself? I asked. What? You're not telling me you miss me. I do. You're telling me your life got harder. Because you're not there. His voice cracked. People turned. Alex slowly stood. Maybe we should go. Sebastian's panic increased. No. He reached for my arm. I stepped back before he could touch me. Don't. His hand fell. Please. His date looked mortified. Sebastian, what is happening? He finally snapped. I don't know. Then he looked at me. You can't just throw away 5 years. I didn't. You did. No. I stood. You did that the moment you made sure every benefit of loving you belonged to me, while every benefit of being loved by you belonged to someone else. His eyes filled with tears. I made one mistake. Using me for 5 years wasn't one mistake. I picked up my purse. It was a system. Alex placed cash beside the check. Sebastian's breathing became ragged. Danny. I turned toward him. I can change. I hope you do. For us? No. That answer was immediate. His face collapsed. I need you. And suddenly I felt something I never thought I'd feel around Sebastian. Nothing. No butterflies. No desperate hope. No Einstein to fix him. Just clarity. You loved what I could do for you, I said. There's a difference. Alex and I walked toward the exit. Behind us, I heard Sebastian's date asking him whether he wanted her to leave. Then footsteps. Sebastian followed us. Danny. I kept walking. Please. Near the door he caught up. I'll pay you back. I stopped. What? The money. He was crying openly now. I'll pay everything back. I'll make it right. Just don't disappear. There it was again. A transaction. As if $23,400 could buy back access to me. This isn't about the money anymore. Then tell me what to do. You still don't understand. What don't I understand? I looked at him one final time. I wanted you to choose me, when choosing me actually meant something. He stared at me. You don't get to choose me now because losing me became inconvenient. Alex opened the door. We left. In the parking lot, neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then Alex looked at me. You okay? I exhaled. Actually, yeah, I think I am. He smiled. Good. Then he hesitated. For the record, I wasn't going to punch him. I laughed. I didn't think you were. I considered it for maybe 3 seconds. That made me laugh harder. And just like that, the tension broke. Later at Alex's apartment, we made coffee and sat on the couch. I'm sorry you had to see that, I said. Are you kidding? He leaned back. That was better than Netflix. My phone started vibrating. Sebastian. Again. 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 By midnight, there were 31 messages. Apologies. Accusation. Promises. Jealousy. I know I hurt you, but we belong together. Then, he's probably using you. Then, you're making a huge mistake. Then, fine. Be with him. Don't come crying to me when it falls apart. 5 minutes later, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Then, please answer. I screenshot a few and sent them to Jess. Her response came immediately. He's having a complete breakdown. I typed, yep. Then I blocked Sebastian's number. I thought that would finally end it. Instead, Sebastian expanded his campaign. He messaged my coworkers, my gym friends, my cousins, even my neighbor. Jake from work forwarded me Sebastian's message. Danny and I were basically together for 5 years, and she suddenly cut me off over a misunderstanding. I'm worried, because this isn't like her. Can you talk to her? Jake replied, if by misunderstanding you mean laughing at her proposal, I think she's fine. Please, don't contact her coworkers about personal drama. Sebastian tried mutual friends next. According to Jess, he organized a night out with several people to explain his side. For almost 3 hours, he painted me as manipulative, a woman who used money to pressure him into romance, someone who punished him because he wouldn't give me what I wanted. Eventually, Ashley interrupted. Sebastian, didn't you ask Danny for rent money after rejecting her? Silence. Another friend asked. And weren't you dating Rachel while telling Danny you wanted kids with her? The evening ended early. Within weeks, Sebastian's social circle began shrinking. Not because I ordered anyone to choose sides, because people finally started comparing stories. Meanwhile, his professional life was deteriorating. He began calling in sick, missing deadlines, taking personal calls during meetings. His manager pulled him aside after he broke down during a project review. Then came the break room incident. Sebastian asked a coworker named Brad to spend his Saturday helping him move apartments. Brad barely knew him. When Brad declined, Sebastian exploded about how selfish everyone had become. Apparently, he said, nobody helps anyone anymore. HR got involved. Performance improvement plan, mandatory counseling, regular check-ins. The man who'd spent years surrounded by people solving his problems suddenly interpreted normal boundaries as cruelty. Financially, things were worse. After I stopped helping and his parents withdrew support, Sebastian started using credit cards for basic expenses. Then a payday loan. Then another. He tried taking a second job in retail but quit after 2 weeks. His rent fell behind. 1 month. 2. 3. Eventually, his landlord sent an eviction notice. 30 days. Pay or leave. I learned most of this through mutual friends. I never contacted him, never celebrated it publicly, because somewhere along the way my anger had changed. I didn't want Sebastian destroyed. I wanted him irrelevant. There is a difference. 8 months after that birthday party, I was sitting in my office reviewing code when my receptionist called. Dani. Yeah. There's a man here asking to see you. I barely looked up. Does he have an appointment? No. Pause. He says his name is Sebastian Cole. My fingers stopped moving. For several seconds, I stared at my screen. I could have had security remove him immediately. Maybe I should have. Instead, I said, give me 5 minutes. Because some endings don't arrive when you leave. Sometimes they arrive months later, when the person who once laughed while breaking your heart finally shows up with nothing left to offer except the truth. 5 minutes later, Sebastian walked into my office. For one disorienting second, I saw the man I'd fallen in love with at 24. Then the illusion disappeared. He was thinner than the last time I'd seen him. His face looked pale, his eyes exhausted, his clothes clean but worn in a way Sebastian never would have tolerated before. He used to spend 40 minutes getting ready to pick up coffee. Now he looked like sleep itself had rejected him. Dani. Sebastian. He stood awkwardly near the door. Can I sit? I gestured toward the chair. He lowered himself into it. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he looked around my office. You're doing well. I am. I heard you got promoted. That surprised me. Where did you hear that? People talk. Of course they did. I closed my laptop. What do you want? His eyes dropped. I need help. There it was. Again. Not I came to apologize. Not I finally understand. I need help. What happened? My landlord gave me 30 days. I already knew, but I let him continue. I'm behind on rent. 3 months. Okay. I tried everything. He rubbed his palms against his jeans. I applied for assistance. They said I make too much on paper. Banks won't approve me because my credit is destroyed. My cards are maxed out. I said nothing. I tried getting another job. I heard. His face tightened. Everyone knows everything now, apparently. That's not my doing. I know. That answer surprised me. Sebastian looked toward the floor. I know that now. For the first time since he arrived, there was no accusation in his voice. I called my parents. And they won't help. I'm sorry. He looked up quickly. No, you're not. No. I held his gaze. I'm sorry you're struggling. I'm not sorry they're maintaining their boundary. His eyes filled with tears. I have nowhere to go. You'll figure something out. Dani? No. I haven't even asked yet. You came to my workplace after I blocked you. I know what you're going to ask. He leaned forward. Just one last time. I almost laughed. 5 years, compressed into 4 words. Just one last time. Every rescue had been the last one. Every loan. Every emergency. Every late-night phone call. I'll pay you back. No. With interest. No. I'll sign something. No. His desperation sharpened. It's not even that much compared to what you make. I stared at him, and there he was. For half a second, the old Sebastian resurfaced. My money. My responsibility. His emergency. He immediately realized what he'd said. That's not what I meant. It is. Please. The answer is no. His face collapsed. I could be homeless. You're resourceful when you need to be. He stared at me as if I'd become someone he didn't recognize. You've changed. That sentence would once have destroyed me. Instead, I smiled faintly. I learned my worth. He looked away. Something you never bothered to figure out, I added. His shoulders began shaking. For years, Sebastian's tears had activated something automatic inside me. Fix it. Comfort him. Make the pain stop. That reflex was gone. Not because I'd become cruel, because I'd finally understood that compassion doesn't require surrender. I was stupid, he whispered. I said nothing. I thought you'd always be there. I know. He swallowed. I thought you needed me too. That almost hurt. I wanted you, Sebastian. He looked at me. That's different. I know that now. Silence stretched between us. Then he whispered, was any of it real? For me? Yes. All of it. His eyes closed. That makes it worse. Probably. I did care about you. I believe you. He looked surprised. But caring about someone isn't the same as respecting them. His expression fell. And you didn't respect me. I know. Maybe that was the first honest thing he'd said to me in years. He stood slowly. So that's it. Yes. No friendship. No. Ever. I hesitated only long enough to know my answer wasn't coming from anger. No. Sebastian nodded, then walked toward the door. Before he reached it, he turned. Alex treats you well. Yes. A sad smile appeared. Good. Then he left. When my receptionist told me he was refusing to leave the lobby because he wanted one more minute, I had security escort him from the building. I didn't watch. That was 8 months ago. The story I eventually heard through mutual friends wasn't dramatic. There was no spectacular collapse. No movie-style punishment. Just consequences. Sebastian lost the apartment. He moved back to his hometown and stayed temporarily with an aunt who agreed to take him in under one condition. He paid rent, even if it was small. He eventually found work at a call center while rebuilding his finances. Later, he rented a modest studio apartment. His social media presence almost disappeared. No expensive restaurants. No carefully staged lifestyle. No cryptic posts about loyalty. Just silence. Then on my 30th birthday, an email arrived. From Sebastian. The subject line was, I don't expect a response. Against my better judgment, I read it. He apologized. Not perfectly. There were still places where I could see him trying to explain himself. But somewhere between the excuses were sentences I never expected. He wrote that losing me had forced him to realize how many basic parts of his life he'd outsourced to other people. His parents, co-workers, friends, me, especially me. Then came the line that stayed with me. You were the best person in my life, and I was too selfish to understand that being loved by someone is not permission to use them. I read it twice. At the end, he wrote, I know you're happy with Alex. I don't expect another chance. But maybe someday, if enough time passes, we could be friends again. Alex was making dinner when I showed him the email. He read it quietly, then handed my phone back. Well? I asked. He's learning. That's generous. Alex shrugged. Learning doesn't mean you have to become his reward for learning. That sentence settled something inside me. I deleted the email. No response. Sebastian's growth, if it was real, belonged to him. My life belonged to me. And my life with Alex was becoming something I'd once thought relationships were only supposed to look like in movies. There were disagreements, bad moods, stressful weeks. Nobody was perfect. That was precisely why it felt real. Alex didn't disappear when I disagreed with him. I didn't have to buy his affection. When I was overwhelmed at work, he listened. When he was struggling, he didn't turn his problems into my obligations. We were two adults standing beside each other, not one adult carrying another. About 6 months into our relationship, Alex and I were sitting on my balcony after dinner. He looked at me strangely. What? Nothing. You're staring. I was thinking. Dangerous. He laughed. Do you ever think about getting married anymore? The question caught me off guard. Sometimes. Does what happened with Sebastian make it harder? I looked through the balcony railing at the city lights. Not marriage. What then? Asking. Alex nodded. He didn't push. That's another thing I loved about him. He didn't turn vulnerability into an opportunity. He simply reached across the table and took my hand. Whenever you're ready. 3 months later, I opened the drawer where I'd kept the old engagement ring. I hadn't sold it. For a long time, I didn't know why. Maybe some part of me had refused to let Sebastian own the meaning of it. The diamond hadn't laughed at me. The ring hadn't humiliated me. I'd simply offered it to the wrong person. So I took it to a jeweler. The original setting was removed completely. We designed something new, cleaner, simpler, something that suited Alex, instead of carrying the memory of Sebastian. 2 months later, I took Alex to the Overlook, where we'd gone on our 3rd date. Nothing elaborate, no photographer, no 35-person audience, no private restaurant, just sunset, cold air, and the man who'd never once made me question whether I mattered. I turned toward him. Alex. He looked at me. Then his eyes dropped toward my hand. Oh my God. I laughed. You're supposed to let me do this. Sorry. I took the ring out. My hands were shaking, but this time the fear was different. Not, does he secretly love me? Not, have I misunderstood 5 years of my life? Just the ordinary terror of asking someone you love to build a future with you. Alexander Bennett, you taught me something I should have learned a long time ago. His eyes were already watering. That love isn't supposed to feel like an unpaid job. He laughed through the tears. And you taught me that being independent doesn't mean doing everything alone. I took his hand. I don't want to rescue you. Good. I don't want you to rescue me. Also good. I just want to build something with you. His smile broke wide. So, I barely managed to say, will you? Yes. I stared at him. Alex. Yes. You didn't let me finish. I've been ready since our 3rd date. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the ring. He pulled me into his arms before I could recover. And for one absurd second, I remembered that restaurant. Sebastian laughing. 35 people watching. Me kneeling there with a ring in my hand, wondering how I'd misunderstood my own life so completely. Now I understood something else. The humiliation hadn't been the worst night of my life. It had been clarity, arriving in the cruelest possible packaging. Alex and I are getting married in Costa Rica next spring. Small ceremony. Close friends and family. Jess is standing beside me, obviously. When I told her about the engagement, she stared at the redesigned ring and grinned. Finally found the right hand. Apparently, she hugged me. Then whispered, I still reserve the right to say I told you so. You've been saying it for almost a year. And I'll continue until death. 2 months until the wedding now. Sometimes people ask whether I regret those 5 years with Sebastian. The money, the time, the embarrassment. I used to think the answer was yes. No, not exactly. I regret ignoring the truth. I regret believing potential mattered more than behavior. I regret confusing someone's dependence on me with devotion to me. But I don't regret learning the difference. Sebastian taught me that someone can talk about your future without intending to be part of it. He taught me that being needed can feel dangerously similar to being loved when you don't know your own worth. And Alex taught me the opposite. When someone genuinely wants to build a life with you, you don't have to spend years decoding them. You don't have to audition. You don't have to rescue them into loving you. You don't have to pay admission to your own relationship. 5 years ago, I thought love meant proving how much I could give. Now I know better. Love isn't measured by how much suffering you're willing to tolerate for someone. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can give another person is a boundary. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is believing them the first time they finally tell you what you mean to them. Sebastian called me his sister in front of 35 people. I thought those words destroyed my future. They didn't. They freed me from the future I'd invented, so I could finally build a real one with someone who chose me without needing to be convinced.